This is Volusia Today, a public information radio program brought to you by the County of Volusia.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Clayton Jackson with the Volusia County Community Information Division. Today, I'm joined by the co-host, Michael Ryan. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. Volusia Today is made possible by our sponsors, the Daytona Beach International Airport, the Ocean Center, Volusia Recycles, and Votran Public Transportation. Michael, how are things your way today?
Clayton, I've never heard your radio voice before. That's greatness. That was completely different than the voice you were using 5 minutes ago. That's beautiful.
I got to give the people what they want to hear, right? They don't want to hear that country accent from Kentucky now, do they? Well, yeah, they're still picking up a little bit on it, I'd say.
Oh, that was greatness. It's a good, and you know what? It's a Friday. We're heading into the weekend, and hopefully there's a hurricane that's not coming our way.
Yeah, well, speaking of hurricanes, we just want to remind our listeners out there that today, September 8th, is the last day to take advantage of the Disaster Preparedness Sales Tax Holiday. If we've had some scares over the last few weeks. Dahlia last week, Lee's out there churning. We'll talk a little bit more about Lee here in a minute with our guests. But hey, if you're looking to get some savings, get prepared, today's the day to do it. Also, we just want to remind everybody and about the rip currents out there. There's been a lot of activity in the tropics. It's causing a stir. So even though we may not be getting a lot of impacts ourselves, as far as wind damage and all that, but the waves are crazy. So we just want to make sure, hey, we're kind of recommending just be cautious out there. As always, swim near a lifeguard. And this is a shout out to some of our community information team members, Dave Hunt and Heather Belden. As they would say, always, always, always download that Volusia Beaches app. And then we just want to remind our viewers also out there that there is on Tuesday, September 19th, it will be the final budget hearing for the fiscal year 2023 through 24. Everybody is able to go to volusia.org to take a look at the budget, look at the proposed millage rates, and again, we invite the entire public out there on Tuesday, September 19th to hear what's going on and provide your feedback. So today we have some guests from our emergency management division, and perfect opportunity actually, because we just went through Adalia last week, and the tropics are still turning. So we have Jim Judge and Clint Mecham. How are you guys doing today?
Good morning. Doing great. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
All right. So Jim, I'm not going to ask you to give an introduction because I think everybody in Volusia County and maybe the state of Florida knows who you are. But we have a new face with us, Clint Mecham, our new emergency management director. So Clint, why don't you give our listeners out there just a little brief introduction about yourself?
Absolutely. And thanks again, Mike, Clayton, for having me here. I'm really happy to be here in Volusia County. I've been here all of about a month now, just a little over a month.
Welcome to Florida.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I retired from the fire department as a division chief up in Utah with Unified Fire Authority. The last 10 years of my stint with the fire department, I was the Salt Lake County emergency manager. I've been down in the fair state of Florida not only playing tourist, but I was here last October with FEMA Urban Search and Rescue during Ian. And I've been a member of the FEMA Urban Search and Rescue team for a number of years. Made deployments to Ground Zero, Katrina, Rita, Ernesto, Dean, etc. So, but I'm really happy to be here. Really enjoying my new home. I really appreciate the citizens of Volusia County making me feel welcome, as well as my boss over here, Jim. He's happy to see me, and I don't know if that's because he just wanted to get rid of that part of the job or what it is. But either way, I am really happy to be here and really happy to be part of the community.
And I want to jump in if I could. We did a nationwide search, and we looked high and low, and we found the right guy. Clint's got as he mentioned, he's got a wealth of experience from earthquakes to windstorms that equaled a hurricane to so many different events, wildfires. And we've already had the chance now to introduce him to, a little bit of the weather when we had Adalia here. So Clint was with me right on my hip the whole way to, just to see the process we go through as we get ready for a potential storm.
All right, so, well, with that, welcome to Florida again. So you've been here a month, and you got hey, Adalia hit. But you made it longer than I did. When I moved here in 2016, I was here about a week and a half, and Matthew decided to pop his head up. So there's something about us out-of-towners moving here that decides to bring more activity to us.
I agree. I was playing tourist down in Orlando when Matthew went by, so I got to experience that one from a distance too. And fortunately for Idalia, that was a great one for me to learn on. If that's the worst we get, knock on wood, then I'll take that.
It was a good trial run.
It was. It absolutely was.
Clint, I had the privilege of introducing you to the county council that day. I think I started a week before you, maybe two. Yeah. And the list, as Jim just said, the list of disasters that you've responded to in your career is pretty impressive, if that's the right word. What are the different challenges that hurricanes bring from wildfires and earthquakes?
So earthquakes, there's a little bit of a different challenge because you can't see those coming. Hurricanes, we can at least see coming, right? But one of the challenges that I've found here working through Idalia and looking at what's coming potentially with Lee and Margot, we didn't have a lot of beach line in Utah.
Right.
So the whole beach erosion issues and the structures on the beaches and stuff like that is definitely new for me, and I'm still learning from Jim and the rest of the EM staff and everybody else in the county staff on what those challenges really mean and how we can lean forward and be best prepared to protect our great beaches and our citizens who live there.
Thank you.
All right. So let's rewind about a week and a half. Hurricane Idalia is on your radar. Walk us through what emergency management did.
So from my standpoint, we started watching this Idalia before it was even named. I mean, we were watching it while it was still an invest, and we do that for all of the storms just as a matter of course. We want to be able to be prepared and lean forward as far as we can in getting ready for these storms. So even before we had any kind of emergency declarations or we had any kind of real concerns about where it might be going, we were already at emergency management and all of Volusia County for that matter, leaning into this thing and reaching out to our state partners, our local partners, and making sure that we had all of our ducks in a row, so to speak. So if we did need those resources coming in, it was very, very clear on what we were going to be asking for and why. So we were doing all that preliminary work under blue sky, if you will, rather than waiting for the storm to be on top of us.
Clint, even though Idalia was a near miss for us, I kind of felt like it was a good exercise, a good opportunity for us to run through the exercises and make sure everything's ready to go for if something else comes. What did you feel that same benefit? Oh,
absolutely. Again, being here for a month, there were a lot of new faces to meet, a lot of new people to figure out what their roles and responsibilities were. This was a really good way to kind of help push that process along, if you will. And again, get familiar with the processes that are already established here in Volusia County. The last thing I want to do as the new guy is come in and turn everything on its ear. Everything works. If we don't need to, and if it's not broken, we don't need to fix it. So again, it was a really, really good process for me to go through, not only from learning the storm side of things, but helping myself get networked.
Yeah.
Jim's big shoes to fill. There's no doubt about that, right? So, but learning what it is that I need to do in order to help fill those shoes, Idalia was great for that.
It really was, but Michael, for you, but also for our new corrections director, so with a number of new folks in town in
Sure.
key positions. So I think everybody had an opportunity to kind of see the process, with the press releases, all the things that we needed to do, and it worked exceptionally well. But we were also quite lucky. If you go back to Ian, it was going to be Tallahassee, then it kept shifting more and more our way. And of course, we know the rest of that story. But for this system, it kept shifting more the other direction. So every time we would see an update, well, there was a little bit more to the north and a little bit more to the west, which continued to move us out of harm's way. Although, we did take the precautions we felt were necessary through the Managers Advisory Group. So we were prepared.
Yeah.
We had shelters open. Citizen Information Center was activated and did a great job. But very fortunately, we had absolutely no reports of flooding, damages. We only had about 1 to 2 inches of rain, and we actually have about a 2 to 4 inch rain deficit right now. So we were very fortunate with that storm.
And just like I was at, actually our whole team, we were at the Emergency Operations Center, throughout the activation with the storm. And, we walked down to the CIC, what you're talking about, the Citizens Information Center. I know we use acronyms in government a lot. And I'd go down there and we'd ask the team who are on the phones talking to our residents, hey, what are some common questions that callers are giving you? That way, do we need to put something on social media, do a news release? That way we can, try to be proactive in addressing some of the large-scale questions we had. Obviously, where can I get sandbags? That was the number one that everybody's talking about. And I'm not going to ask you what sandbags are, because I think everybody, if you live in Florida, you know what sandbags are. But maybe not everybody is using sandbags the correct way. And Jim, you are the expert, because you actually taught me this not even a year ago. So I'm going to give you just a minute or two. Tell people how they should actually use sandbags.
Well, and there's a great video that we did about, if you go to the Volusia County Facebook page and look at that sandbag video. But, stacking the sandbags, you alternate the sandbags, but then you want to have that barrier, that plastic sheeting, a tarp, or something between the sandbags and what you're trying to block. That way you're really going to do a much better job of keeping the water out. So that sandbag video really goes into details. You only want to fill the sandbag about 2/3 full so you can pack it down. I see people filling them all the way to the top. Then it makes it tough to tie it, and you can't pack it as well. So again, the video really goes into great detail about the proper use of sandbags, because after Ian, a lot of sandbag usage, but we did see a lot of improper usage where they could have done a better job by just that plastic sheeting or some type of a tarp between the sandbag and the door, the garage door, whatever it is you're trying to protect. But also, if you still have sandbags, from even Ian, Nicole, from Adelia, dump the sand out of them, put it in the garden, but keep the bags. That way, if we get something else, and we still have a lot of hurricane season yet to go, then we have those bags available that you can have to, again, add to your supply.
The tarp, when you told me that a year ago, it blew my mind. It's like, it makes all the common sense in the world to do that additional barrier. And I remember when we actually posted that video on Facebook, the comments were like, wow, I've lived in Florida my entire life, and I've never thought of using this, but it makes all the sense in the world. So, hey, if you get your sandbags, don't forget the tarps too, because, hey, the sandbags are going to give you, the sandbags will give you a little bit of protection, but if you really want to increase that efficiency, go get those tarps as well.
Tarps, plastic sheeting. You can even get those heavy-duty garbage bags and cut them up and lay them behind, and it really does help a great deal to keep that water out.
Jim, last for Ian was the first time I was not in an EOC for about a decade, and I found myself woefully ill-prepared for a hurricane. I'm used to being in the EOC with, running water and food and 3 meals a day and all that cot, and I found myself at home not knowing anything, and I wouldn't have known that about the tarp either. What else should somebody do to have a basic preparation kit?
Well, there's a lot of things that people can do, and again, we've got an app, Volusia County Emergency Management app, that we put a lot of time and effort to it. But you can go there and have a checklist. We've got a nice little checklist here that you can pick up from emergency management that has a lot of different items on there. And so with the checklist, you go down, the food pantry, how do I look? I've got some extra items in there. What about water, batteries, flashlights, battery-operated lanterns? There's just a lot of things on that list. And you go down the checklist, and again, we still have today to be able to take advantage of that tax-free holiday, to be able to really go down and check things off. And then with the checklist, next time I go to the grocery store, maybe I want to pick up a few extra items just to have put aside, because you never know what type of storm may come our way, the damage that may occur, and the time that it may take to get things restored. Just looking at Dahlia and the damage that it did up in Lake City, Live Oak, Perry, and even further north. I mean, it could be a couple of weeks before those folks get fully power restored. So having those items is just going to help you weather the storm and and get through it, protect your family, and of course, generators are wonderful when the power's out, but of course, Clayton's always done a great job over the years in messaging the dangers associated with carbon monoxide. And, they're wonderful, but you got to, keep them out of the eaves, keep them in a safe location. But here's what people don't think of. Well, I don't want to stick it out in the rain,
Yeah.
It's an expensive item, so then it gets improperly used. But that's where, there are items that you can use to keep it away from the home, but yet these types of boxes and things that you can cover it up to protect it from the weather, but yet still provide a good deal of service and electric backup power, to the refrigerator or whatever you need.
All right. So with that, we're going to take our first commercial break, and when we return, we're going to talk about bridge closures during a storm. So everybody stay with us, and we'll be right back with more Volusia Today.
We are Volusia County Beach Safety. We're here to serve Volusia County's 47 miles of unique coastline. Volusia County beaches. Yeah, those beaches. But also these beaches. We have millions of visitors every year, and we work around the clock to keep our beaches safe and beautiful. And you can help.
Swim near a staff lifeguard tower.
Pick up your trash and fill holes. Identify, avoid, and escape rip currents.
Please leave the beach cleaner than you found it.
There we go. Look out for one another and keep an eye on kids, especially near the traffic lane and in the water.
Pets are allowed at our 2 pet-friendly beaches, Lighthouse Point Park and Smyrna Dunes Park.
If you see something, say something.
A clean and safe beach guarantees fun in the sun for everyone. Thank you for doing your part to keep Volusia County beaches beautiful. See you at the beach!
Make the most of your day at the beach. Download the Volusia County Beaches app today. Sign up for real-time notifications on vehicle ramp openings and closings. Find staffed lifeguard towers. Get updates on tides and beach conditions, plus off-beach parking and coastal parks info. Volusia County Beaches app is available for your smart devices at the App Store and Google Play.
We're back. I'm Clayton Jackson, and you're listening to Volusia Today. So we have our guests from Emergency Management, Judge and Clint Mecham. And, there's actually a very strong storm that's brewing out the Atlantic right now, Hurricane Lee, and it's a Cat 4 right now?
It's Category 5.
Oh, Cat 5.
160 mile an hour winds.
So he bumped up on me while I was asleep last night.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in talk a little bit about what the projection is for that right now.
Sure. So right now, in looking at the modeling, and it's still very, very early on, but right now the models are showing that more than likely it is going to hook in towards the central Atlantic and probably not be a concern for us. There's a model, though, that does show that it continues westward and maybe hits the U.S. coast. And again, it looks like it will probably be well to the north of Florida, maybe up in the Carolinas, but that doesn't mean that we can let our guard down. I mean, as everybody knows, these things have a tendency to shift track, and they have a mind of their own. But even if, and Lee is just the first one, there's actually a second one now that they just named again over the course of the night. Margot was right behind Lee, and it's got the same kind of track pattern, so it's not cause for undue concern right now, but we definitely have to keep an eye on it. And the other thing that we have to also realize up and down the entire coastline is we are going to see wave surges and very dangerous rip currents. So even though these storms may not track right over the top of us or impact us with wind or storm surge, we're still going to feel the effects from them. So again, all of our citizens need to be very, very aware of that and conscious of those impacts, even if the storms don't come right over the top of us.
All right, and as promised before we took our first commercial break, we're talking about future hurricanes on the horizon. Bridge closures. That was another hot topic that our CIC, our operators, were getting a lot of calls about. People are, are the bridges closed? When will the bridges close? Bridge closures. Everybody's like, I've got to go to work. I've got to get my kids. I've got to go home. So from the two experts themselves, let's set the story straight. What is the deal with bridge closures?
Well, let me jump into that because really right after Ian and Nicole, there was a lot of discussion about bridges. And so I had questions, a lot of questions. So I went to our experts at the Department of Transportation in DeLand. And so I met with a gentleman, Ron Mead, and Ron's been wonderful to work with. And we had a lot of discussions, and then also other staff with DOT. So the bottom line is that, and even with this Idalia, we did not close any bridges going forward. Really, and we would close bridges traditionally at 39 mile an hour sustained because that's the way it was done. And even a DOT representative that came to the OC, gentleman said, we're closing bridges at 39. And then I explained the discussions we've had with DOT and the fact that, no, we're not, that they're going to remain open. The only time we would really close the bridges, and not from a safety standpoint, but it would be, say, from a flooding standpoint on either the east or west side of the bridges, that they were just unpassable. Or if we had a significant storm that did a tremendous amount of damage over to the barrier island, power lines down, vegetative debris, other types of things, and just to keep people off the barrier island. And the only time that the bridges would need to be inspected would be after, say, a Category 3 hurricane. The bridges are substantial. Of course, the couple drawbridges that we do have are locked down. But then again, as far as going over those bridges, you need to remember that the higher you go, the higher the wind. So your box trucks, ambulances, we always are school buses, very cautious of the types of wind and how sustained winds and those vehicles being able to operate safely. So right now, the bridges are open. The bridges will remain open. The only time we would close bridges would be in coordination with the sheriff's office. It would be an emergency management decision along with the county manager that the flooding on either the west or east side of the bridges, the access points to the bridge, or protecting the barrier island. But that's going to be a decision with our municipal partners on the east side, looking at what types of debris, what type of dangers are over there to protect the public. And then, of course, Public Works, whether the county or the municipality is getting out, clearing the roads and getting them ready to be opened back up again. But they don't even need to be inspected unless we ask to be inspected. Then DOT would accommodate that. And they do have about a dozen different companies that they contract with that are inspectors to be able to do that. But they wouldn't be concerned and really wouldn't even consider inspecting them until it was a Cat 3 or greater. So lots of great discussion. But then also going forward, the Department of Transportation out of the DeLand area, Ron Mead and his staff, we're going to be invited to meetings on a routine basis ahead of the hurricane season, through the hurricane season, any discussions at all that need to come up about anything at all related to DOT and emergency management. And again, it could be, the contraflow where all of a sudden we're going to, move traffic. We're going to use one of the emergency lanes, to move people north or whatever direction we need to go. So lots of communication have opened up with DOT. They've got all our contact information. We've got theirs, and even Ron Mead called me, during Idalia and had a great conversation. So, it's all about partnerships and communication, and we've enhanced both with our partnership with DOT. And of course, Clint will pick up on that and keep it going.
Absolutely. And the other message for our citizens, everybody who's listening or might watch this later, it's really important to note, but because we don't have that hard and fast, definitive, this is when we do it all the time anymore, making sure that they tune in and listen to the messages that we're putting out through emergency management in the sheriff's office becomes just that much more critical. So that's something that we ask for our public's support and understanding in is making sure what it is that the situation that we have to deal with now when it comes to that topic.
Jim, you touched on school buses, and we talked about high-profile vehicles earlier. The school buses, the school district has their own policy?
They do, and of course they look at the sustained winds, but then also Votran, we have a great deal of coordination with all the municipal and county fire departments, and of course with our emergency medical services. The ambulances, the boxes are high profile as well.
Right.
So, we want to make sure we maintain those assets after the storm, but then also making sure that our staff are safe. Yeah. And that's where, we always encourage people when it gets nasty to stay off the roads, because if they don't and they get hurt, then we have to put our folks out there potentially in harm's way to go get them. Okay. So, we always put a lot of messaging out about what to do, but then also what not to do ahead of a storm, during a storm, or even post-storm.
All right, before we take our last commercial break, I'm going to throw this one at Jim Judge. Hypothetically, my mortgage company does not require me to maintain flood insurance. I don't live in a high-risk flood zone. Do I need flood insurance?
You know, it's Florida.
Good answer.
And just because it hasn't flooded doesn't mean it won't flood. And of course, you know, we learned a heck of a lesson with Ian. 21 inches of rain in the New Smyrna area, 18, 19. And of course, we had 2 weeks of rain prior to that storm. So, you know, flood insurance is so important, but if I buy flood insurance today, it won't take effect for 30 days. Right. So, you know, even if you don't need it, we are a Class 5 rating with the community rating system, which means you get a 25% break on your flood insurance for the unincorporated. But then many of our municipalities also participate in the community rating system as well. So flood insurance is just another way to protect yourself and your property.
Excellent point, Jim. All right, with that, we're going to take our last commercial break. We'll be right back with more Volusia Today.
We are Volusia County Beach Safety. We're here to serve Volusia County's 47 miles of unique coastline. You know, Volusia County beaches. Yeah, those beaches. But also these beaches. We have millions of visitors every year, and we work around the clock to keep our beaches safe and beautiful. And you can help.
Swim near a staff lifeguard tower.
Pick up your trash. And fill holes. Identify, avoid, and escape rip currents.
Please leave the beach cleaner than you found it.
There we go. Look out for one another and keep an eye on kids, especially near the traffic lane and in the water.
Pets are allowed at our 2 pet-friendly beaches, Lighthouse Point Park and Smyrna Dunes Park.
If you see something, say something.
A clean and safe beach guarantees fun in the sun for everyone. Thank you for doing your part to keep Volusia County beaches beautiful. See you at the beach!
Make the most of your day at the beach. Download the Volusia County Beaches app today. Sign up for real-time notifications on vehicle ramp openings and closings. Find staffed lifeguard towers. Get updates on tides and beach conditions, plus off-beach parking and coastal parks info. Volusia County Beaches app is available for your smart devices at the App Store and Google Play.
We're back with more Volusia Today, and we're going to wrap up our discussion with our emergency management friends, Judge and Clint Mecham. So, in closing, guys, we still got a lot of hurricane season left. You know, it feels like we've already been through it, just what we experienced in the last few weeks. But what is your message to our residents?
The tropics are hot. You know, besides all the way down now to Margot, we've actually monitored, as Clint mentioned earlier, if there's a blip, anything out there, we've actually monitored over 39 different systems out in the tropics. And the water's warm. It's still warm. So September the 10th is traditionally the peak of the hurricane season. And then there's another little bump up in October. But as long as that water remains warm, we have the potential for tropical and hurricane to come our way, you know. So there's a lot of hurricane season left. It doesn't end till November the 30th, and certainly October could be a busy month as well. And but I got to tell you, you know, I'm so thrilled to have Clint here because I get to take that emergency management hat off for the most part and then concentrate on my real job, which is the director over emergency services. So there's a lot going on in emergency medical services, of course, our county fire, emergency medical administration, certainly working with Clint on the emergency management side. So I really get to concentrate and continue to support all of the other divisions and work with everyone. So with Clint here, I get to do that. We're in great hands here. So thrilled that Clint and his wife, who's absolutely delightful, chose to come to Volusia County.
And Jim, wonderful closing message. And Clint, we are just thrilled to have you here with us. I got to see firsthand, you know, the interviews you have, media, informing residents. Top notch, Jim.
Thank you.
Heck of a job hiring this guy. With that, we're going to close today's show. Stay safe, Volusia County, and have a wonderful day.
If you have a comment about Volusia Today, or if there is a topic you would like to hear featured, please contact Volusia County Community Information at